Hello, hello. I am Candace Lehenbauer, and welcome to another amazing online information session for Microschool South Florida, where we interview local microschool and homeschool pod and just edupreneurs, which I love that word, in our area. And we also want to just invite parents into the conversation about non-traditional schools and education today. So tonight we have three amazing schools with us, or programs. Our first one up tonight is Colossal Academy with Shiren Rattigan. She is located in Fort Lauderdale. Our next presenter is going to be Sara Clarfield, and she's a brand new school, if I'm remembering, a new program, Engage Education, and they are located in Palm Beach County. And our last but not least is the Living School with Joelle Smith. And she is pretty much all over the place. You were the traveling school in Palm Beach and Broward County mostly, but I saw that you also go down into Miami too. So you were all over the place. So our plan for tonight is to just get parents to feel like they can be connected with us. If you have never ever homeschooled before or never really stepped off the conveyor belt of public school, it can be a little scary, and you can look out there and think, hey, I don't dare do that. Or maybe you have like those grandparents. They can be amazing, or they can be those ones that just say, hey, don't want to do that to your kids. If you are nervous and wondering, how do I get off this? I see that I need to do a change, but I don't know how. This is why we're hosting these info meetings, so that you can listen to other people who have done that and feel a little more secure and think, hey, it's not so bad out there. Or actually, it's not so bad. It's amazing. We want you to take a glimpse on what's on the other side and maybe feel the freedom that comes from taking that first step. So tonight, let's get started on that. We are going to have Shiren. You are our first one up. All right, take it away.
Hello, I am Shiren Rattigan. I am the founder of Colossal Academy. I'm also the garbage person and the head instructor and the gardener. So, you know, I have many, many hats. I do advertising and social media as well. Everything is, with the Microschool, you have every duty, but the blessing of that is that you understand everything from every angle, and things are very quickly streamlined between making decisions of what the families want, what the student needs, and making it happen. So that's the beauty of being small. So I started my journey. Colossal really came about of three intersections for me. First was that my own upbringing and not really connecting with the education that I was given. It wasn't amazing. I mean, it wasn't awful, but it wasn't amazing. It wasn't the full potential of what school can be. The second was my own daughters, and I didn't want to put them through that kind of a system that hasn't really changed in over 120 years, right? And then the other part was me as a teacher. So I've worked in public schools and private schools, and it just wasn't giving me what I thought education was going to give me on the other end, as someone that, you know, teaching is a vocation that's very sacred. And I wasn't able to really live out that potential of connecting with my students, making sure that they had what they needed. And instead I became really grouchy and gruff. And when I would try to work within the system and give them what they needed, I found budget cuts, or I would find that there were a lot of reasons why not to bring them outside, or reasons why not to allow some of the more kinesthetic play that I wanted to incorporate in the classroom. So yeah, Colossal is kind of like those three intersections. I'm building it for my middle child who's dyslexic just like me, and super hyperactive and needs to be out and adventurous. So Colossal, you know, right now we're a farm school, and we meet on the farm, and next year we'll be moving into a 5-day program. Colossal Academy emerges from the child's interest. And we got a farm, not because I enjoy farming, we got a farm because the students really wanted to find out, could we grow cacao in South Florida? So it kind of emerged from that. And we just followed the interest of the child. And then we have the drones program because somebody wanted to go into drones, and we have field trips, and we milk goats because someone wanted to find out what goat cheese looked like. So we're able to emerge. We're able to be in different places. We go to the forest, we go to the beach, we do surfing, we do skate with an amazing program, Surf Skate Science. They have home economics because the student wanted to learn how to cook. So I found a program and we're all doing it. It's really an enriching program, and it's awesome to watch as the students find purpose and meaning in what they're learning, especially with the middle school. Middle school tends to be a rough few years there where their bodies are changing, their identity is morphing into outside of their family, and all the questions of why and origin and where do I come from and where do babies come from and all the why and where and how questions start to come out, and they're trying to solidify who they are. And so I really just want to give them as many experiences with as many experts as possible. So that's kind of, that's the short end of Colossal Academy, and who we are and what we aim to be is just emerging from the student's interest, maintaining smallness, remaining under 20 so that we can have a great teacher to student ratio. We just got our MAP scores test back and the kids did so well and it's working. So that was like, I'm not really tied to test scores, but when you see that it's working, being out and with people and doing entrepreneurship projects and milking goats, that's actually the test scores are yielding that they're growing and they're learning. But not only are they growing and learning, but they're growing drastically. The numbers were high peaks of growth within the year. Several students over the 90th percentile of growth. So they're learning and they're learning a lot and they're doing it really quickly. And part of it is just being safe. So that's us, Colossal Academy. And yeah, thank you for the space, Candace, for really amplifying what we're doing. And any parents who are a little bit nervous about going outside of the box, I guess my biggest advice really is this enough? Is the current system that we have enough for your family? Is it enough for your child? And we can do better, and people are doing better, and well, come on over. So that's all I really had to say about Colossal, but thank you so much again, Candace, for inviting us.
Thanks, Shiren. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your new place? I drove by last week to take a peek and I was like sneaking through. Oh my God, this is so cool. Tell us about your new place just a little bit.
So we're in downtown Fort Lauderdale in Flagler Village. We're in the art district, and the art walk goes right down the block from us. So the kids will be able to showcase their learning at least once a month to the community. And it's in a beautiful building that has butterflies painted on the outside. It was as if it was gifted to me from the universe. I just walked in and fell in love. And so everything just fell into place, and the kids were really ready to be off the farm for and have air conditioning and be indoors. So yeah, it's really exciting. So we're in Flagler Village. We'll be opening. We have a open house on July 12th. And then people can come and see what we're doing.
Thank you. That's awesome. I love how you have grown. When I started Tapestry Academy, I'm a Microschool owner as well. When we started, I don't know if it was about the same time or not, but we were still kind of in our first year, and we saw each other through Instagram. And anyway, that was really fun getting to meet a fellow Microschooler and say, okay, what do you suggest? Give me some ideas. And anyway, it was really fun to make a friend down here. I know when I first started, I called all over the United States to find different people who could lift up the curtain and give me some tips on how to do stuff. So I thought it was really great that Shiren was just right down the street, pretty much. Okay, like 30 minutes down the street, but anyway, in South Florida. So that was really great. All right, our next person up is Sara Clarfield, and that's with Engage Education. All right, are you ready, Sara?
Absolutely, and excited. Thank you so much for having me here today. I will admit I'm a little bit nervous. This is my first time expoing about Engage Education, and I'm very passionate. So if I'm talking too fast, give me a slow down sign. I'll slow down for sure. But thank you so much for having me. So just to repeat, my name's Sara. My company's name is Engage Education, and we are planning to provide pod learning for homeschool students in this upcoming year. I am so excited about this idea because I've been working with a few homeschool students throughout the last year, and I've fallen completely in love with this alternative approach to education. I came out of college and went straight into teaching. And then I taught for 2 years during COVID. And actually, I got my first full time position coming out of substituting and taught for 2 months before we went virtual in Palm Beach County. So that was chaotic. I had eighth graders. So if you want to talk middle schoolers, I love my middle school group. I think they're amazing. But yeah, that was fun. It was challenging. And I learned so much in that time about classroom management skills virtually and about the different approaches to learning online and about how to have students work with the resources they have at home. And it just opened up this gateway into homeschool education. And I started tutoring in that field specifically and working with homeschoolers, working with athletes, working with kids who needed a different approach to learning than public school could offer. And I actually had a great experience as a public school student growing up, but going into it as a teacher, I noticed how many kids weren't relating to that experience. And I wanted to be able to help them love learning and become lifelong learners the way that I feel I am. So it was immensely exciting for me to come up with this idea to move forward with pod learning for homeschoolers. Our goal is to provide very small groups. So we're going to do a 7-to-1 ratio. I am bringing at least 2 other teachers on board this year, actually hoping to bring 3 teachers other than myself on board this year so that we can really diversify our groups by age and by their current skill level. We're also accepting high schoolers, and the high schoolers we're going to approach a little differently. We know that they are looking for independence and responsibility and kind of to show off their skills at that age. So we're going to pair them up as teachers' aides with the group so that they can really get involved and become leaders and role models under the guidance of our teachers, our guides, so that all the learners are included. I'm so excited about this. So a couple of other things about Engage that I'm in love with right now is our mission statement. We have a mission to inspire curiosity and kindness above all else. We really believe that curiosity is what's going to guide each individual person, not just the students, the learners, but also the parents and the guides. It'll help them find their unparalleled gifts as they explore each different avenue, as they explore entrepreneurship and environmentalism and any other topic they want to go into. We could list them off. They're going to be able to find out what they fall in love with, what are they passionate about, and then they can use these talents to give back to their community in a way that they're proud of. We believe in curiosity and kindness, individuality, independent learning, responsibility, growth mindset, all of these amazing concepts that you hear of when school system, but standard first. So I really want to pull away from that and give each child the opportunity to focus on their character as they develop their skills in school. I did notice that with homeschoolers, my 2 biggest concerns that I got from parents were, well, how are they going to socialize? And also, well, how do we know if they're actually progressing at the rate that they're supposed to? So I said, okay, this is how we're going to address that. How are they progressing? We're going to pair them with teachers who specialize in their age group. That way, these teachers can say, hey, I only have 7 of them. I can really hone in and make sure that we are progressing and that I can see those early red flags or see those signs of, wow, this kid loves math. And we can relay that back to the parents because we have the time to do so. We have the time to get to know each of our learners. And then the second concern, socialization, we're putting them in a group setting and we do daily discussion groups. In our daily discussion groups, the children will be answering questions about the world around them. They'll be agreeing, they'll be disagreeing, and learning how to respect each other's differences. And they'll also be learning how to say, hey, I'm not really ready to speak on this just yet. I need to think, or I need to hear more ideas. So a lot of discussions, a lot of free time, a lot of working on their assignments with a teacher present, and it'll also give the parents a little bit of a break so that they can have time for themselves to go and explore their own passions while their child is in a safe environment. So that's really the foundation of Engage Education, is providing a safe learning and socialization space for the kids while pairing them with phenomenal, outstanding educators who are there for the children's best interests. That's really what I wanted to share about Engage. I hope that that answered some of the main questions that I get. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us through our Facebook page or through our website, engageedufl.com.
Thank you, Sarah. That was awesome. So I know you're located in Palm Beach County. Do you actually have a location, or do you go to people's homes? How do you do it?
Absolutely. So we are currently securing the location in Wellington. We're actually very close. I went to visit the location again today. I haven't released the address yet because I really don't like to make promises I can't keep, but we are days away from signing our contract with this facility, and it is gorgeous. It has access to so many amazing resources, a garden, a play space, a science room. It's really a part of this community already, and I can't wait to share this information with everyone. I've been at the edge of my seat.
That's exciting. Thank you, Sarah. Well, excellent. We are now going to have Joelle Smith share with us from the Living School. All right, Joelle, you're up.
Candace, thank you so much for having me, for having all of us to share. It's been great getting to see what's kind of going out in the community. I too was a public school teacher for a long time, and then I went to private after I actually homeschooled my own 3 daughters for the last 9 years. In fact, my daughter's graduation was just Saturday. Which was really cool. So my second one graduated, I have one left. And when they were younger, we would do a lot of what the Living School is going to be doing. So when I say the Living School, the first thing that I always tell people is think magic school bus. And someone said, are you going to shrink and like go into people's veins? No, we're not. We don't have that capability. But we are going to be traveling to 74 different locations within 2 hours of South Florida to explore and learn on location. So one of the great things that I got out of doing private schools and in a private setting and doing a lot of tutoring, I worked a great deal with students with unique abilities. In fact, one of the students that I had with a unique ability is the reason that I created the school, because I found the student had come into the classroom like a more traditional setting, and my whole thing is a living school education outside the box, and it's about real world living. And thankfully, this student's mother was aware of what the student needed and would say, go ahead and take him on field trips. It's okay. Like you can go to the store or go have lunch and discuss your, the schoolwork over lunch or what have you. And this idea kind of fell out of that. And it was something that I wanted to do when I first went out teaching. Like I wanted to take students to like different cities to experience it, which I find a lot of people are doing now, which is amazing because we can learn in such a multitude of ways. And every student is so unique and so individual. So one of the great things that the Living School TLS is going to be doing is we are going to be customizing and tailoring the curriculum for each student. So therefore, we're only taking 10 students a day. Again, it's a very small 10-to-1 ratio. And on Thursdays, we just added another teacher to do our elementary students. So I know, so very exciting. And everything, like we don't have a location. That's the first thing everyone asks is, well, how does that work? And we are going to be picking students up at a central location to where the students are located. So if I have students in Miami, Broward, and West Palm, we'll have 3 separate location areas, or we'll find a central location around them to be able to meet. And our school days are longer typically than most of the schools that I've worked at. So we have 6-hour days, 9 to 3. which I haven't worked in since I was in public school. So, but our school week is only 4 days, and students actually get to customize how many days they would like to come. So they can do 1 day a week, or they can do up to 4. And they can completely customize everything that we do. I actually had this student that decided that they were going to do intensives. So we're going to do 8 weeks of one subject only, and then be done with that subject for the week. And we're going to do that throughout the school year. So it's really customized and individualized for each student. And I'm able to do this because for the last 6 years, I've taught students from kindergarten all the way up through college age. And I've taught everything you can possibly imagine. So now that really equipped me to be able to teach every subject, which has been a huge blessing. So I'm still certified in English, and I love writing. That's kind of my passion. But I also teach math. I'm writing math curriculum. I am doing loads of different things in the different subject areas. So TLS is just looking to explore the community around us and use that as our classroom. So that's what we're going to be doing at TLS, and I'm very excited. In addition to our classes that we will have, I'm also doing tutoring. So tutoring is actually included 2 hours for students as well, in case they get home and they have a question about how to do something or something that they're working on. They need to have access. So I really like to find that TLS comes alongside the families. So I want it to be almost like their friends and and their family, and the relationships that I build with the students and with the family are extremely important. So that's what we're looking to do. And we also are doing annual evaluations included. So thank you so much, Candace, for allowing us to share and just the exciting things that are going on around our community. So if you are interested or just want to take a look at what we're doing, I'm at tlsedu.com.
Thank you. That's awesome,
You're
Joelle.
welcome.
And I've
Thank
been out
you.
to all 3 of your websites. They're amazing. So go take a look at their website, see what they've got going on. Shiren was pretty lucky. She had a film crew out earlier this spring, right? Making a video for you. She won a grant, and with the grant came a video to show off her program. So that was so fun seeing on Instagram, like the film crew walking around and doing all that stuff. That was really cool. So yeah, go check out their websites. Highly recommend it. And on Instagram. So are any of you on Instagram? Like, what's your favorite place to post and tell about what you're doing?
I'm so old school. I'm still Facebook.
Me too. I like
Facebook. I do have Instagram as well. I do have an Instagram account as well, and my website. So, and I actually did a lot of connections with all the different homeschool communities on Facebook and tried to connect.
Yeah, me too. In fact, I learned how to do Instagram because of my Microschool. I still remember I was like, I don't even know how to do this. This is a very obscure thing. I don't know. But anyway, I learned as we went along. And then, in fact, I saw another Microschool. It was in Texas or something. And they said they never sent emails home at all. All of their messages were sent home through pictures on Instagram. So the parents had to be logging in, looking in, saying, hey, that looks cool. I got to see their day. And then they would write on a dry erase board, here's the announcements for tomorrow. Make sure you bring, 3 bags of chocolate chip cookies because we're having a party. Anyway, it was a fun idea to see that that's how they would do their communication with parents. So what about you, Sara? What's your favorite way?
My current favorite way to communicate with parents is through Facebook. We just launched our Facebook page, I think just over a week or 2 weeks ago. Everything's moving so quickly at this point of development. So we should be launching our Instagram as soon as we secure our location so you guys can see where it is and watch the development happen. So you will see us on Instagram, but for now, let's stick with Facebook for communication. You can also go to our website at any time and contact us.
That's great. All right, so let's get to our group discussion. And anyone who's joining in, who's not presenting, is welcome to jump in and answer to or ask questions. This is just imagine us sitting around in a circle and we can all just talk. All right, so today our topic is about redefining education, which I feel like sounds like the name of this really cool book, right? Doesn't it just sound like, it sounds like the topic for today, you know? So maybe what we can talk about is what role is alternative education in changing the American education system? What do you think about that? Anyone want to give that one a try? What role is alternative education in changing American education system? I was even thinking too, alternative education used to mean something different than it's evolving into now. And I know sometimes my husband says, don't call it that. But I think we're changing the definition even as we speak.
I would love to comment on this. Does anyone mind if I go first as the newbie?
Go ahead, Sara. That sounds great.
I feel like I've learned so much in these last few months since I had this idea about what alternative education is and what disruptive education is and innovative education. All these different terms have been thrown my way, and I've loved every second of it. And I really think that alternative education plays a few different roles in our education system, especially here in the States. And the first role that I think is so important is providing an alternative approach for children who might not fit the traditional style mold, who need maybe more hands-on approach to education or need a different pacing system than what can be provided, or maybe their parents travel for work and they need to be able to approach it in just a completely different fashion. Or I've had a few students who I've worked with who didn't feel comfortable socializing in a public school setting. So it really gives them a safe space to express themselves and to learn in a way that makes them feel confident. So I think that's a really important part of alternative education. I also think that it's important that we keep challenging this public school system because change isn't going to come out of being stagnant and out of not challenging it. I think seeing teachers leave and try new things inspires ideas that we can bring back to the public school masses. And if we don't try, we're never going to know. So starting these different programs, starting these different companies and these different partnerships, having meetings like this, discussions, it opens the platform for evolution, which is a word we kind of brought up earlier at some point today. And it really does. The system is evolving and it takes, I mean, I hate to say it, but it probably takes hundreds of years to get it to evolve to where we all hope it'll be one day, but we're pushing it and we're making it happen as entrepreneurs in this field. And I feel so grateful to be a part of this conversation with you all. So I'm going to pass the imaginary ball back for whoever would like to build.
That's great. That does feel like imaginary ball going around. So go ahead, Shiren. Do you want to talk?
Yeah, I think Sara hit a lot of really important points. I think the United States is the most diverse. I'm going to venture out. I don't have statistics on this, but we have the most diverse populations from people coming from all over the world and all over the globe. But not only that, but we have a diversity in the way we think, the way we are, in our politics, in our religions. And that needs to be reflected in what we do. We customize everything and individualize everything except for education, right? And we need a very diverse ecosystem, an educational ecosystem that's really going to serve all of the students that need to be served and families. Really by centering and showing the data, showing the models that are working and scaling them or moving, just being in various locations is going to, with different populations, is going to inform traditional education for sure. I know when I taught in school to get approval, even at the private school where there's like less, where there is less people in the decision making, it was a faster turnaround. It still could take months in order for something to be approved. So if we want to quickly do things, they're going to have to be, for now, smaller, private, and individualized so that we can show what the potentials are. I also wanted to just think how we originally built the traditional education system, and it was conveyor belt, cookie cutter, specifically to place people into the industrial jobs. We are no longer there. And furthermore, we're way into the future. And in order for us to be on a global platform where students are learning calculus in 7th grade, we have got to change the way that we're teaching, the way that we are educating, the way that we are serving not only children, but their families. So I think, I think microschools and alternative education are really centering the student and making a community focused, whereas I don't believe that's necessarily true in the traditional ed.
Awesome. That's excellent. So maybe we can dive into this one about the pandemic. So it says, discuss the pandemic and its role in the rise of pods and other alternative non-traditional education. I hear all the time about people in like the home education office used to be this little tiny thing, because I've been homeschooling for over 15 years. I used to be able to call and have a conversation with the ladies in the office, and they'd be like, oh yeah, we know Candy, we know all of her kids, because there was just this little small group. And if my kids' names came up, so for example, my daughter wanted to run cross country in high school, so she needed to get the stamp of approval from the home education office to go ahead and do that, which she did, and she had a really great time at that. But I just remember, oh yeah, we got your email, sounds great. And it was all within like a few minutes. And now they're like standard email, you send it in and they're like, thank you for your response. We'll respond back to you within the next 7 days to let you know if we received your email. They're totally being inundated with stuff. But I think it's also a wake-up call that, maybe they're losing a little funding here and there. I don't know, which can be alarming. But it can also make you just think, how can we do things a little better? And I think that's really important, just, you got to shake it up just a little bit. It makes everybody better if there's a little competition. Even in my own micro school, I know with homeschooling my own children, they'd be like, yeah, so I did half a lesson today in math. And I'm like, that's probably not what you should be doing. How about we try for a little bit more? And then all of a sudden they have their friend sitting there and they say, I just did 3 math lessons. And suddenly they perk right up and they're thinking, hey, oh yeah, look what I just did. So it's good to show off just a little bit, to just inspire a little bit more, a little bit better, a little bit more creative in how we approach things. What do you guys think? What about the rise of pods and other alternative tradition things? How did the pandemic affect all of that?
Well, I know that homeschool's up 40% in Florida right now, which would be why they're so inundated in the home education offices. But I think students in particular and families kind of got a glimpse into what their students' education was and started questioning, is this really what I want for my kid, for my student? And I think that, when we step back and we look at our individual children, and they're all so different, all of them are so unique that, there's been a push towards really looking at the individual students' gifts and talents and the things that they are really successful at, and still giving them a base knowledge, but really pushing them in the areas where they have their strengths. And I think that the pandemic, the kids that were doing well during the pandemic in math were still doing well in math. But if they weren't doing well in English, then they really fell behind. And I think that it created these massive gaps, and parents are struggling because they see the gaps. So I think that played a huge role in parents seeking more individualized attention for their students.
So true.
I'd love to build on that if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
I think a lot of parents saw that gap that you're talking about and we're like, okay, let's try homeschooling. And I've had a lot of parents say, I tried. I don't want to be the teacher of my homeschooler 5 days a week or even 4 days a week. It's a lot to teach your own kid and to have to play that role. Every relationship needs healthy boundaries, and to be your child's parent and to be their teacher, and then because of the socialization difference to be their friend, and then also have to go back and be their parent again in full circle, it becomes really challenging. And I applaud all of you that have already homeschooled your own kids. I hope to have kids one day, and that's one of the reasons I'm starting Engage, is to create a place for them, which is a really big dream for me. And I think a lot of parents were like, hey, how do we do something where we have others supporting us? And I feel like everyone here has really found an amazing way to accomplish this. And we're just a handful of the amazing programs that are out there for homeschoolers, which brings back the topic we said earlier about if you're a little worried about going into homeschooling, or if you're in it and feel a little lost, we're all here to support you. And it's such, even though we challenge each other and even though there's some competition, we're a very supportive community. And I think it's such a beautiful and accepting place. So I just wanted to put that out there, because a lot of parents have tried homeschooling and have felt like, oh my gosh, I need to put my kid back in public school even though I don't want to. There are so many programs and so many options. Please feel free, even if our program isn't the right one, please feel free to reach out, because I mean, we're networking right here so that we can find a place for each child and each child's importance in education, including their family.
I will say that even when I homeschooled my own daughters, I was terrified, and I was a certified teacher. Terrified. I did like FLVS the first year or something for like the first few months, because I was like, I don't know if I can do this, even though I was a teacher. And then thankfully I had a lot of guidance, and the community really gathered round and was so supportive that they just made it easy. So I picked it.
I was
What
going to
was
say
that?
homeschooling's changed a lot too. So I've been homeschooling over 15 years. When I first started, there were a lot more stay-at-home moms that could invest all of their time into homeschooling, which that's how I am and that's how I began. But I think that more and more, there's more parents that are like, hey, I work full time, but I still I see the benefit in doing homeschooling or non-traditional education. How can I make this work? And I know that when I very first did it, I partnered up with a few ladies that lived in the neighborhood, and one of them was a full-time cake maker. She made cakes, and then she also prepared food for another place. So she was a full-time working mom, yet she homeschooled her daughter. She made it all work out. And I said, if she can do it, I can do it. And we just kind of banded together and made it work out. But you don't necessarily have to go find that person. You can find somebody who is like me. I am a homeschool parent that says, hey, bring them on. Let's make this work. Let's have a great time together. And or a certified teacher that's out there, or whatever it is. We don't have to be alone. And there's a lot more choices than there were about there. Hey, Iman, welcome. We're glad that you're here with us.
Hey, y'all. Thank you.
So here's our next question. Did I say this one already? Do you feel people will eventually return, or will we change it? Will we change the dynamic? What do you think is going to happen out there?
You have not said that one yet. Who wants to go first?
I mean, I think that again, going back to the educational ecosystem, it's diversifying. I don't know that we can, I think the trajectory for having alternative and non-traditional educational spaces is going to increase. I think that we can say that that's true with legislation and how they're passing legislation to help be the catalyst for schools to have a safe space. Some of the toughest parts of running a micro school, we are a private school. We went the private school route. We are full Florida Department of Ed route. And that was just our approach. But there are lots of, as I'm sure you guys are seeing, that there are lots of things around zoning and planning that make it difficult. But in our case, taking scholarships, it was really important for me. I wanted to make sure that we had a diverse socioeconomic background, as well as thought, genders, all of the diversities that were a possibility. And we see in legislation that they've made it possible for more students to have access to that. I do think that it's going to grow as we have more access to not only the space being reflective of where we can learn. You can learn anywhere, in my opinion, and we have learned anywhere, but also that the legislation will follow that. But we know that first, parents, families needed money to make those choices. And so legislation did that. And next, we need to make the spaces a little bit more flexible so that small schools like us don't have the same, hopefully not the same restrictions as mammoth thousands and two thousands of students. I do think that it's moving in that direction. And even in states like Illinois, where it's tough, New York City, Massachusetts, we see some of the legislation moving towards a more comprehensive for alternative learning and non-traditional ed. So that's my 2 cents on that.
That's awesome. I know that like some charter schools, you can have a charter school with like 10 kids or something like that. I know just seeing when I was building mine, I was like, dang it, I wish Florida had better rules for this, that, or the other. But anyway, it is what it is. But I think the more we discuss about it and talk about it, the better we can change things, Like Brenda Dickinson, she's like the major homeschool guru for Florida. But if you can ever reach out and support her, she's amazing in what she's done in doing all of this. So there was something I was going to ask. I know, so you, Sara, you are getting your location. I guess maybe we're in our question time just a little bit. We can ask questions. We've gone through our little group discussion, but maybe ask questions about each other's programs. If anyone from the audience wants to throw a question out there, but I know when it comes to actually figuring out where your location is going to be, that is a really hard one. Do you want to say maybe how you started going about trying to find a location?
Absolutely. This is such a fun question because it's been such a journey these last 3 months. Let's start off by saying I had this idea 3 months ago. So it's been such a quick and exciting journey. And that just shows the support of the community, how much you guys have taught me in that short period of time on top of what I was already learning. And I started by just posting on Facebook. If you go back in my posts in these little homeschool groups on Facebook, actually, they're not so small. My first post was, hey, I'm a teacher. Does anyone need a teacher for a pod of about 6 kids next year? And I got such an influx on the amount of people who were looking for this and how there were already programs maxing out and how they needed more of this. And that's why I decided to bring other amazing teachers into this, like all of us. And then I quickly realized, wow, this is not 6 anymore. I need a space. And that's when the challenge really, really kicked in. I have considered everything. And depending on your area in Palm Beach County, it's very different. Wellington's zoning codes are very different than Boca's zoning codes. So I've considered almost every area in Palm Beach County from Jupiter down through Boca. And looked into working with groups everywhere. I started hoping to be on a farm, and then that was in Boca. I had an offer from them, and then the zoning codes made it seem like we were going to get shut down halfway through the year. So I said, okay, moving on, what's my next opportunity? I looked at industrial spaces. There's no garden. There's no place for them to safely play outdoors. So I was like, okay, maybe I buy a house. You can do agricultural residential in Wellington. And at the market, yeah, everyone know how bad that is right now. Buying a house was very overwhelming, especially for such a young company. It really felt like a very big move when we haven't even opened our doors yet. So I started exploring, and I'm going to try to say this without giving away the location. I started exploring already established children's facilities in our community and deciding if it would be a beneficial partnership. And I ended up matching with just this beautiful, already established facility. They already host after school programs and had nothing going on during the day. So it's mutually beneficial for both of us to share this space. And I found that this really just felt like home the second I stepped into it. And because they already work with children at a large capacity, it was a very good connection to what we want to do and how we plan to grow. And it made it easier on health codes and on zoning codes because they're already doing something similar just in the second half of the day. So it's a big journey. If anyone needs any help, please let me know. I have an amazing network that supported me through this, and I would love to open my network to you all.
That's awesome. I know, Shiren, you were talking with me about how you just found a place that already met the check boxes. So then you could just move in and say, thank you. Thank you for already being zoned educational. Do you want to share a little bit about your journey?
So, I shared space. I did rent a space from another micro school, and it was the launching point for the students on a daily basis. But we go everywhere. So similar to Joelle, we are all over Broward and Miami and a little bit of Palm Beach. And I can't speak enough about really tuning into what your population needs. And that was working splendidly. We were in libraries, on the beach. We've been everywhere. Farms, pottery studios, we have been everywhere. And it was starting to reveal itself that it was time for the space. I hadn't actually wanted to commit. I think that there are amazing playgrounds that are available that the public works offers and the public parks offer. I didn't ever really feel like I needed my own, but it just revealed itself that it was time to get a space. And I actually, Iman's here from Kind Academy. I found this space. Actually, Surfskate Science found this space and sent me the link. And I was on a phone call with Iman from Kind Academy, and I was like, let's look at the zoning. It's like out of my price range. And she was like, okay, scroll down. Oh my God, it's zoned for a school. It was just everything I had been asking for. I think about 3 years ago when we really started, I remember speaking to a friend on the phone and saying, I want a house that is already zoned for school. And then I repeated that request again and was speaking to another friend. I said, just want a house that's zoned for school. My process was not as tedious as I know so many other people. I'm hearing so many other stories, and I feel super blessed to be in the space that I am, so that I can serve more students and give them a cozy place to be, partner with other community members. But my process was really seamless, and I feel super lucky. But I hear the horror stories. So I think for anybody looking and wanting to do something like this, I think the most important is looking at the zoning first and seeing what's possible, really thinking about space in a different way. What's like churches, I know, are a great avenue for people. The great thing about churches is they're usually empty during the day and during our hours. And I know there was a school that first partnered with a church, and then they bought the church and then leased the church back to them on the Sundays. So it can work out, I know. And other recreation centers, similar to what Sara was saying. So if you're looking for space, look for after school programs, and just trust your gut and your heart that it will appear.
I know that when I very first started we were at the Children's Museum in Boca, and I was so grateful to be there. But the price that I had originally agreed to at the beginning quickly caught up to me, and I started to have like, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to pay for this? So I just called around to like another tutoring center, and I said, what do you think? Could I come to your location instead? And I offered a price that was significantly lower. And I said, what do you think? Do you think that will work for you? And they said, yes. And as soon as I got that yes, I went back to my original place and I said, would you be willing to match this price? I need to, it's too expensive for me, especially as I'm beginning. And they said, yes. So I thought, okay. I figured that was just a sign to just try things that you don't think would necessarily work out. And you never know, you may be happily surprised. I really didn't want to leave the first place at all because it was just too pretty with green grass and all of that stuff. But I had to be willing to shuffle a little bit, and then it worked out in my favor. So anyway, well, does anyone want to ask any other questions about anyone else's programs? I know that Shiren has a little happy fan club here with Iman and Team Flourish. If you guys are awesome. You're always doing stuff together. But anyway, if you want to ask any questions, we would love to hear what anyone, maybe I do have another question really quick from Joelle. Since you are the major traveling person, you got 72 locations. What is your favorite field trip destination?
Oh, my favorite? Ooh, I don't know yet. I mean, the example that I always use is the Venetian in Coral Gables, because it just has such a rich history, and it has it's so easy to incorporate every subject there with the history and the science of the natural spring. And so that's one of my favorite. And I'm a water person, so I love those. So trying to find too the balance of indoor and outdoor. So I think indoor, I don't know. I'm not sure what my favorite indoor would be, but that's definitely Venetian is definitely one of my favorite outdoor. And I love the Biltmore. The Biltmore in December is just absolutely stunning. And again, the history there is amazing.
I'm trying to think what the Biltmore is. Is that down in Miami?
Actually, it is. It's in Miami. It's in Coral Gables, and there's so much rich history there. It's amazing. There is also I love a lot of the old museums that we have around of South Florida, Flagler, and there's a ton of like railroads, and there's so many little spots that I didn't even realize existed here until I started homeschooling my kids, and I actually would find them on like Groupon or something. So that's how I actually found some of them, which was really kind of neat. So Fern Forest, I mean, there's so many. We have all these great parks here, natural habitats that, we have such a unique ecosystem here itself in South Florida. So there's just a richness here that, I grew up in New York that it's beautiful there. Don't get me wrong, but I just like South Florida's uniqueness.
So I have a quick question. I know we're almost done here. So say you guys are together 6 hours a day, you said, right?
Yes.
And do your schoolwork. I know you were saying you use that time as you're traveling to do stuff too. How do they do their work? Like when you get to the Biltmore, do you sit on the front lawn and pull out your laptops?
No, actually how we're going to do it is, if you've ever done like an escape room or something like that, and you're given tasks to do, they will have tasks to do each hour. And during that time, they'll be scheduled an individual time, like teacher time. So they will individually meet with me during a specific time during the blocks of the day. But the other students that are not will have tasks that they have to complete based around what their curriculum is, if that makes sense.
Okay. So they're wandering around the field trip area doing those tasks too, or do they stay in one spot, do their tasks, and then
they will be able to wander. So it might be fine, for example, go take a water sample of the water at the Venetian, or go take a picture of 5 nouns with the camera, or and then write a paragraph using the nouns. And then they could sit down to do that. Does that make sense?
Oh, that's kind of fun.
Yeah,
I like that.
It's active as possible to keep them up and moving and having a balance of being up and also being down.
And Iman says, ooh, kind of like a scavenger hunt. That's
good. That's exactly. And it can be fun. I want them to see that learning just doesn't have to be sitting in this box. Like there's just so much out there, and it's so fun.
I love that. I know I've done that at the zoo before. We've gone and done that. Does someone have another question? Oh, it sounded weird for just a minute. Was somebody talking? I'm sorry.
I said it kind of sounds like she's doing stations like we would in a traditional classroom, but in a real life setting.
Exactly. It is very much like that. But I'm working middle high. I'm 4th through 12th. So.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
So very cool. So you don't have a kindergartner wandering around by themselves.
No, that's what the elementary teacher is for. And they will be paired and things like that. They'll be grouped together based on grade level, things of that nature.
Excellent. And what do you guys think about parents being involved? Do you enjoy having parents come along for adventures, or how do you handle that?
Absolutely. I'm all for parents being involved. That's one of the main things I've tried to make sure I take into consideration as we move forward. So I know a lot of us do project-based learning, and we'll actually be giving parents, we'll be asking if parents would like to lead these projects. We feel like parents are heroes, they're role models, and you always look at other people's parents and are like, wow, they're so great. Other people are looking at your parents that way too. And if they want to be there and be involved, that is so important in my eyes. And obviously, every relationship needs healthy boundaries. But if we can just talk it out with the parents at the beginning and say, okay, how involved do you want to be? How much do you want us to take over? That's super important. And in our program, the parents are still selecting the child's curriculum, their core topic curriculum. And then we also do enrichment programs. So with us, there's pretty heavy involvement. And of course, if they need to step back a little bit more, we are here to support whatever that family needs, which is why we have such small ratios, those 7-1. So I am all here for parent involvement. Parents, I give you all the props in the world. I cannot wait to be one of you.
You may change your tune once you
I know, right?
Right now,
I actually have had parents ask if they can be like, can I come? And I'm like, absolutely. Like, can't ride the bus, but you can meet us there.
You're like,
that's awesome.
I'll take a snack break.
Yes. So yeah, yes, absolutely. If that's, I mean, we homeschool, like a lot of homeschoolers homeschool to have those we built those relationships with our kids, and we want to be involved. And so I think that that's an important component.
That's great.
In my case, I'm going to be honest, I really need space. So in some cases, yes, of course, but we do a lot of community building where we can all come together as a group to do public service or to showcase our art or to be in community together, which is definitely a huge component of what we do. But in my particular case, my students are middle school, and I really think that is a very divine and sacred age where they are looking for some autonomy. They need autonomy and they need independence. And so within the safety net of what's possible, I want them to stretch that. So what that looks like for us is we partner with an amazing program team, Project Flourish, and they've graduated into having metal knives and showing those, right? And so when we have parents around, often in that age group, often what will happen, it might stunt their adventure. They're scared of spiders. They're afraid of, so what I ask is for parents to step back and allow the child to really emerge as an autonomous and independent person. So that they can actualize, and that parent involvement are for special occasions. We do feedback. I do want to know how it's working within their families. And so far I've had great feedback. So
that's great.
My stance, but that's what works.
That really reminds me too about the feedback. It's so important to get feedback from your families on a regular basis. Just ask, what isn't it Acton Academy? I think that they say every single week, send out a survey and ask how you're doing. And then you'll be, you don't have to wait until it's just bad news. You get feedback all the time. So I think that's great. So Sarah's hilarious. She just held up the book from Acton Academy, Courage to Grow. So I think that's really fun. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. I think we had a really great discussion. So thankful to Shiren from Colossal Academy and Sara from Engage, am I getting that right? Engage Education, and Joelle from the Living School, and our amazing discussion about just education today. And this is our last of our once a week online information meetings. Now we have on our YouTube channel 4 hours worth of these discussions, which is really great. And that way we can give parents something to chew on while they're trying to figure out what to do for school for the fall. But we're going to be doing another discussion 4 weeks from now on July 13th, I believe. and we're excited about that. But the goal is to do one every 4 weeks, and we can just keep interviewing more and more. I just love this. And please go out to the website, microschoolflorida.com. And it's a free directory, and just encourage families to come and join on. And if you are an educator, don't just sign up and walk away. Stick your business card information, put a flyer, do some way so that parents can know how to contact you. And then if you're a parent, say what area you're in and what it is you're looking for. And I know that it's already growing into being a really great resource. So let's continue to make it grow. So thankful to all of you for joining today. So grateful. Thank you. We'll talk to you all again soon. Bye.
Thank you, Candace.
Thank you. Bye,
Thank you so
guys.
much, Candace.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.